In astrology, everything has a birth time, but knowing as accurate of a birth time as possible is critically important. And Robert Glasscock and I have created a program to help you do just that. A crystal clear 30-minute video outlining the technique, an MP3 of a podcast explaining it, and a step-by-step instructional PDF. So you get it 3 different ways, and how you get it is at the top of the funastrology.com website. Check it out and give it a try on your own chart. Welcome to a special Sunday edition of the Fun Astrology Podcast. I'm excited about this. I reached out to Jenny Geyer this week. She was with us back in December, as you may remember, with some thoughts about Mars in retrograde and its movement from Leo back into Cancer. And she said that she was going to have a part 2. Well, now is the time. So for part 2 of her thoughts on Mars, which has been strong, here's Jenny Geyer.
Hello, Fun Astrology Podcast listeners. Welcome to Mars Retrograde Part 2. Mars re-entered Cancer in retrograde motion on January 6th, but I probably didn't need to tell you that since you've almost certainly been feeling it. Admittedly, this isn't easy energy, and in true Mars fashion straight talk, there's just no sugarcoating it. Mars sometimes gets a bad rep, being known as a malefic in astrology talk, but when push comes to shove, he's the one for the job. Mars is an excellent problem solver. He loves a challenge, and he loves to flex by being relentless when it comes to conquering his enemies, or outwitting his opponents on the battlefield, or when merging in traffic. He loves the taste of victory more than anything else, except maybe Venus. And he has the ability to channel his unextinguishable energy into overcoming the obstacles he sees before him. Mars is a part of our very nature and represents the part of us with the instinctual ability to strive and survive in all elements. However, in the feminine sign of the moon, Mars is said to be in his fall. In Cancer, the enemy or opponent is something Mars does not usually grapple with, the one within. Cancer is associated with the 4th house, a place that holds our most personal experiences of the world beginning from the earliest age we can recall, which we mostly know through our home environments. Hence, the 4th house is related to the home. Because of this association of Cancer to the 4th house of home and family, it is also a sign associated with memory and parent-child relationships. Children are like little sponges. They take in huge amounts of information and mostly do so through the unconscious mind, meaning that there is very little, if any, filter or rational mind which we later develop as adults that help us make sense of the information being received. These filters are developed in order to help us make meaning from our emotional experiences and begin to take shape once we are exposed to the world outside the bubble of our homes and families. In astrology, Mars represents raw energy and is associated with the body in action, which is why Mars and the signs it rules are often prominent in the charts of athletes. Because Mars is action-oriented, he looks for solutions to problems and then charges ahead to get it done. But the kind of work that Cancer is requiring of him is deeply internal and self-reflective. This can look and feel like intense restlessness, anxiety, and frustration. You may have noticed that you or the people around you are easily triggered or highly reactive lately. Under this Mars retrograde energy, we are all being prompted to give some attention and much-needed affection to our inner child. In particular, some of our early childhood wounding that is still affecting our current programming and therefore how we operate in the world and relate to other people. Mars is the doer energy, and in an emotional sign like Cancer, he may feel he brought a snowsuit to a pool party, or you may be feeling that sensation in a dream where you've just shown up for the first day of school and forgot to put on shoes before leaving the house. It's a very vulnerable and impatient Mars, dealing with an assignment that is less about doing and more about sitting and reflecting. Though we may yearn to feel victorious over these old wounds, to proudly pronounce ourselves as over it, none of us is going to get off that easy, as Mars will be in Cancer until April 18th. The fruit of our labor awaits us once Mars re-enters Leo in direct motion, but until then, we all have some serious work to do. So what does this work actually look like? I say it all the time, and I'll say it again. Journaling or any form of active self-reflection will be hugely supported by the energies we have moving through the sky and through ourselves over the next few months. If you're in therapy, that's great. If not, it may be time to consider reaching out for some counseling if journaling isn't your thing. Feelings will be intense as Mars stirs up the waters of a very sensitive and vulnerable space in us, and finding a healthy release valve will be crucial. Fortunately, Mars is not the only wandering star we have on our celestial stage. Cancer is ruled by the moon and represents our physical and emotional body. The moon, like our moods, is always on the move. And as our body's representative, she is the gentle reminder that our bodies are always offering key information to help prompt us into solutions around self-care. If you need to increase your Kleenex and Oreos budget for the next few months, indulge yourself without judgment. On the flip side, you may be needing some physical movement. Any dance, yoga, arts and crafts, or breathing exercises are all excellent ways of syncing the emotional body with the physical being in healthy ways. So give yourself permission to rest as much as you need or to flail your arms wildly in the living room. Whatever will help you keep the energy moving and manageable. Fortunately, we'll have additional support once Jupiter begins stationing direct in Gemini. This will provide us with the mental fortitude and perhaps greater access to local resources to help us process our emotions in a conscious and proactive way through our communication with others. Jupiter is also working in connection with Saturn in Pisces, who is acting as our moral compass and offering further support by holding us accountable to ensure that we find ways to align these mental and emotional processes with how we take care of ourselves and those around us, even if that means taking some time off from our relationships to focus on ourselves. As Mars begins stationing direct the last week of February, I believe we'll begin feeling a little more clarity, even some release from the weightiness of it all, if we've been diligently doing our work. However it looks in practice to you, the key to coping with Mars transit through Cancer is finding some healthy form of identifying and releasing early childhood and developmental triggers. Feelings that make us feel powerless and vulnerable, such as shame, are big triggers right now. If we find ourselves feeling triggered, then take some time to consider what underlying beliefs and assumptions may be contributing to this reaction. And we might be surprised to find how a lot of the roots can be traced back to our earliest years on Earth, how we may have been treated or mistreated, and how we've perhaps mirrored some of those hurtful behaviors that adults or even other children enacted on us growing up. I want to offer a source that I found very illuminating and helpful during my own processing of these energies, and I hope might be helpful to yours as well. If you feel drawn to, please check out Patrick Teahan's YouTube channel. I specifically recommend his video titled 9 Random Examples of Shame. It's about 30 minutes long, and it's framed around the effects of childhood trauma or CPTSD, which may or may not resonate with you or your experience, but I'm fully confident that there are at least 2 to 3 things on that list that will sound familiar to you. And whether you suffer from feelings of inadequacy, or if you tend to compare yourself to your peers and feel like you're way behind, or if you have a touch of imposter syndrome in your workplace or at school, or maybe you deal with low self-esteem around your appearance, most of these types of feelings can be traced back to early development. And what I like about Patrick's video is that he offers very relatable examples of how we might be triggered in daily life, and also offers validation and concrete solutions to help address and begin healing those wounds that we carry. Consider the time spent now in addressing these issues as an investment. The more energy we put into our healing process now, the easier our Mars transit through Cancer will be next time. It's important to remember that we were all new to the world at one point, and we've all done the best we know how. But knowing better always comes with contingency that we must then do better. If you can keep your aim true and believe that you are enough just as you are, and like all of us, you are a work in progress, then you are embodying the solution to a much greater problem, one that is all too visible when we put on our Pluto and Aquarius bottles and get the full scope of society in our sights. To be the best version of ourselves, we must first forgive and understand where our behaviors and thought processes come from. The going may be tough right now, but what I can promise you is that the effort you put in now will all be worth it in the end. Wishing everyone strength and grace. Thanks for listening.
You know, Mars has just been so prolific in my book right now. I think it's the drumbeat of the chart, really, at this point, and is going to be for the next couple of months. So I can't get enough of different people's perspective on it. Jenny, thank you so much for bringing yours to the table for us today. Hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. I'll see you back in the morning. We'll do this all again. Have a good day.